but Dave Nathan, play-by-play man for the UNC Tar Heels. We've got Carolina and LSU for, what, the third time this weekend now? Are you excited?
Yeah, it feels like we've done this a time or two before, Adam, and it's going to be just the third, well, make that the fourth time that Carolina's ever faced the same team three times in the same regional.
Well, that isn't a super regional, because that would make a lot more sense because there's only two teams there, and it's a best of three. But, yeah, this is now, how does Carolina's pitching set up, and what scares you about LSU's offense?
Well, the pitching is going to be the great and unknown, maybe up until about 5 o'clock when both coaches have to release their lineups. I was asking about the starting pitching earlier today, and I was told, don't hold your breath. I think everybody's keeping their cards pretty close to their vest. And for Carolina, I think you certainly have more arms available for longer amounts of time than if you're LSU. The question is, do you go to a typical type of starter like maybe Jason DeCaro, who I think threw 65 pitches on Friday against Long Island over the course of 4 innings? Could he come back? Maybe you go to a guy like Ben Peterson, who started the season in the weekend rotation but has been more of a bullpen guy down the stretch. Those would be, I think, the top two names that you're considering if you're Coach Forbes and Coach Gaines. And if you're LSU, Gage Jump and Luke Holman, your top two studs, are probably out. But does Ackenhausen, who started the Wofford game early yesterday and left after less than an inning, does he come back on short rest? I mean, at the end of the day, both teams have to win for their seasons to go on. Both programs have dreams of getting to Omaha, and one of these teams isn't getting to the Super Regionals, so I think you've got to have all hands on deck tonight.
Is there, Dave Nathan is joining us, play-by-play UNC Baseball here on the Adam Gold Show. Is there any carryover? Is there anything that even resembles momentum in favor of LSU after yesterday's 8-4 win?
Well, I mean, LSU came into yesterday needing to win twice just to get to today, and that was a monumental task to beat a Wofford team that took you to the brink in the opener. And after falling behind 5-0 in the first inning, LSU went on to win 13-6. So the Tigers had to feel great about themselves coming back into the North Carolina game. And I always wonder about how the team that just won the last game comes out of the gates, and LSU got a 2-run homer in the first and then put up a 4 spot in the fourth to go up 7-1 and led by as many as 7 runs after 5. So LSU had a lot of momentum. Now, at the end of the game, Carolina had opportunities time and again, left 10 runners stranded on base in the final 4 innings, and then had the tying run at the plate in the ninth, down 8-4. So, if you're Carolina, the calling card has always been after a game like that, you want to get right back out there and play again. We got to wait till 6 o'clock to do it. And you know this, Adam, you've been on the road before, waiting around in a hotel all day long to go out and play. I don't think that helps LSU, but this is a coin flip game.
Yeah, and there's no question. I mean, LSU, it hasn't even seemed to me like they've really hit their stride either. Like we could be in for something great, but this is this in some ways like the Sunday game of a mid-season series when teams are you're down to just bullpen guys, and I mean this could be crazy Sunday college baseball?
I mean, I think it's way crazier than that. Sunday you oftentimes expect a bunch of runs because the arms are wearing a little bit thin and the teams are a little more familiar with one another. But again, the great equalizer in a game like this is that in no way, shape, or form would Carolina dare throw a guy on Sunday that pitched on Friday. I think you have to have the thought that's in play here, and it's probably in play for both teams. The Tar Heels bullpen, I feel like, is a little more intact, having not used Dalton Pence yesterday or Matthew Mateus yesterday or Matt Poston yesterday. I mean, those are 3 studs that can chew up a bunch of innings, but I just think it's so important the start that you get off to in this game. And LSU, again, yesterday showed that the start you get off to doesn't matter at the end of the day. And the old phrase has been tossed out there time and again this year. You can overcome a shaky start, but you cannot overcome a shaky bullpen. I think the one big separator in this game, if we're talking right now, 6 hours before it gets started, Carolina has to have the better bullpen if it wants to win this game.
Well, theoretically, they should, having played one fewer game than LSU yesterday, and having only played 3 times so far through the first 3 days of the regional. Dave Nathan, UNC Baseball Radio play-by-play, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. We'll let you go in a second here. Why wouldn't Scott Forbes think about just bullpenning this game and give me one or two of my best guys, let them throw 2 innings each at the start, and hope you can get off to a good start?
It's a good point. I just wonder, pitchers being creatures of habit, is it safer just to start a guy that's accustomed to being in that role? And I hate to flash back to 2019 in the Auburn Super Regional when the Tigers hung 13 in the first inning on Carolina against a typical bullpen guy, and that game was off the rails before it got started. I mean, that's not to second guess the decision at all, because Carolina certainly had its reasons for doing that. But in this game, I feel like you've got maybe some more options to tinker with, and the routine of starting a guy that's been used to that all season long, and then maybe just getting through the first 2 or 3 innings, and then handing it off to your bullpen, which can piece things together with the guys that I referenced earlier. If you're asking me, and nobody else has, Adam, you're the first guy, that's the consideration that I would take most into account.
All right, final thing for Dave Nathan. The player who is due to break out, who has had opportunities that hasn't maybe been able to come through.
Well, there's no doubt Anthony D'Onofrio has come through in a big way. He finished reaching base 4 times yesterday, had 3 RBIs, and has been Carolina's most consistent player throughout the postseason, going back to Charlotte last week when he was on the all-tournament team at the ACC Baseball Championship. Vance Honeycutt's trying to bounce back after an 0-for-5 outing yesterday. We all know he's got the potential to do that. Casey Cook's only base hit came in the 9th. He's got to put things together. He's Carolina's most consistent and complete hitter. And then there's Luke Stevenson towards the middle of the order. Big-time freshman players had some pop throughout the course of the season. He's been held to roughly singles throughout the course of this series. So top to bottom, Carolina's got the more complete lineup. If they get on base, they can attack LSU more than the Tigers would ever think about attacking Carolina. But starting pitching for LSU has been awful good. Even though Carolina got to Luke Holman in the first game, he still went 6 2/3. And then Thatcher Hurd was one of the most sought-after prospects in the entire country coming out of high school. He had put up pedestrian numbers before he retired 11 in a row to start the game yesterday and got through 5 2/3. So Carolina has to find a way to attack the starting pitcher for LSU and get into the pen.
Well, it's going to be fun. The Sunday unpredictability of all of it. The third game of a 3-game series, and this is, even though there were games kind of inserted in there in the way, the third game of the 3-game series between LSU and North Carolina. Dave Nathan, I appreciate your time. Have a good broadcast today. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, appreciate your interest. Enjoy the ball game.
You got it.